time goes by very quickly. Before you know it, it will be 2 years' time, and you're going to be asking yourself, why didn't I take steps 2 years ago to get me into a better position today? Welcome back to this channel, and if it's your first time here, thank you for clicking this video. My name is Nicole Nyasha. I'm a certified professional recruiter based in Canada, and I share career-related content. So you've decided you want to come to Canada, or maybe you're in Canada already, and now you need to get started on your job search. Great. In this video, I'm going to be giving you a very quick and brief overview of the job search process and how you should go about it to ensure you are successful. Before you update your resume and start applying for jobs, please slow down and do some self-reflecting. You can never go wrong with working backwards. And so start thinking and asking yourself, where do you want to end up in the next 1, 2, 3 years in terms of jobs? And then think about the steps that you need to take to get there. You have to know where you stand or what your skills and your skill gaps are as well. Knowing your skills is what's going to help you figure out your starting point. And note I said skills, not job, because in any job, there will be transferable skills, and that should be your area of focus. Once you've figured out your skills, then you can ask yourself, what jobs can I do with these skills that will take me closer to my ideal job that I want to do in the next 1, 2, 3 years? The mistake I see most people making is going for just any job, and then they end up stuck in that career path and get into a rabbit hole of depression and just not being happy in Canada. And so before you even start applying, do yourself a favor and think about your ultimate job, then the various jobs you can do to build experience to lead you to that desired job. And if you're not yet in Canada, I always recommend reaching out to people who are already in those positions you want to be in on LinkedIn. Try and get some one-on-one virtual time with them and understand how they got to that place they're at. Pick their brains on their career path and use that information to guide you. If you need guidance on scripts, how to reach out, what you should say, check out the A to Z guide for job searching in the description box with all the templates and scripts you need for your job search. I know, and I understand that sometimes in reality, it's not that straightforward to get those jobs that are stepping stones. And I'm going to touch on it a little bit in this video on what are some of the things that you can do, if you're not getting those desired jobs towards the end. But if you have figured out the jobs that you can do, update your resume and LinkedIn profile. I have a few videos on this channel where I go into detail on how to attract recruiters with your LinkedIn profile and how to create a Canadian style resume that stands out to recruiters. So please watch those videos. One thing I will say in this video is that if you're not yet in Canada and have already secured your immigration status, try and include a Canadian address on your resume. A lot of companies cannot just sponsor your visa without proper justification. And so when you put a foreign address, even though you already have your PR, for example, they might just overlook your resume and think you require sponsorship. If you have really niche tech skills, that's a different story. But for everybody else, try and find somebody, a friend who's in Canada, and use their postal code and city, especially or particularly if that's where you're going to be landing. I'm also available for resume and LinkedIn reviews with one-on-one career chats as well if you'd like. Once your branding documents are complete, then you can start applying. There are a couple of job boards, but the most commonly used by recruiters and the ones that will be free for you are Indeed, LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter. Jobbank.ca is also a good one to get information. So create profiles on these accounts and upload your resumes. Please don't get scammed by people who are asking you for your information, asking you for money in the hopes of them helping you find, jobs in Canada. Do your proper research before you provide your personal details to anybody. If you're finding this video useful, please take a moment to give it a thumbs up and share it with someone you think might need it. Now, in typical Canadian fashion, you cannot just apply to jobs and fold your hands. It's a very competitive. You should also be networking and building connections. In addition to speaking to people who are already in your desired roles, like I already mentioned, you should reach out to recruiters and hiring managers as well. Now, don't spam people by randomly messaging them and asking them for opportunities and spray your resume everywhere. They probably won't respond. But if you do see a good job and you think it's a good fit for you, apply it and then look up the recruiters in that company on LinkedIn, reach out to them and express your interest in the role. I mentioned in my resume videos that most job postings get a ton of applicants, and so unless God really helps you, chances of your resume being seen are always low, and so reaching out to the recruiter directly will increase your odds. You also need to familiarize yourself with the Canadian way of doing things, particularly interviewing, and that's why it's so important that you connect with people who are already where you want to be, so that they'll give you the ins and outs and just like some tips on what's okay to do, what's not okay to do. For example, in Canada, we address ourselves on a first name basis. So at work or in a professional setting, I would be addressed as Nicole, whereas I know in other cultures, particularly where I come from, people will address themselves as Mr. So-and-so or Mrs. So-and-so. There are a lot of free resources here on YouTube or Google on Canadian or North American interviewing tips, so prepare yourself. And I always say that the best way to prepare for interviews is to actually have and attend interviews. And even if you don't get hired, don't feel bad, consider it as practice. Now, what do you do if you've applied, interviewed, and you're not getting those ideal or stepping stone jobs that will lead you to where you want to be? Well, take whatever is the next best thing, but don't get comfortable. While doing that random or quote unquote survival job, as people here would like to call them, you can still do other things that will help you build on the skills that you need to get your ideal job. Depending on what it is that you do, you can do freelance work. There are a lot of websites that you can actually sign up for that can provide you with freelancing experience. So you're still doing your quote unquote survival job, earning some income, but you're doing freelance work as well, taking projects here and there. That way you will always have relevant experience to put on your resume. You can also look at volunteer opportunities, even if they're not paid, for the sake of getting experience. And what I will say when it comes to taking survival jobs, try and take jobs that will take you the closest to where you want to be. For example, let's just say you've just come to Canada and your ultimate dream job is to become a nurse. Instead of taking a survival job that's like working in retail or working in fast food or doing customer service in like a random call center, what about looking at something like becoming a personal support worker or looking at the disability side? I know for the disability side, they earn pretty well. So look at those kind of jobs. There might be like an investment cost to that because you need to take the training, but think of it in the sense that you're making an investment by you paying for that training to do that disability care work or personal support worker. You're then going to get experience in a field that is somewhat going to give you relevant experience towards nursing versus you working in fast food that is completely unrelated to nursing. So when you are thinking about survival jobs, still think about that end job you have in mind versus being completely random. The average person applies to a ton of jobs before they finally hit the jackpot, and so keep on trying. I know it can be exhausting, it can be draining, but the Lord is your strength, and the Lord will open doors of favor for you and make your particular path easy in Jesus' name, and you will testify of His goodness. If this video has been of any help to you, please give it a like, share, and subscribe if you haven't already. I have a few resources linked in the description box, including a Canadian style interview guide. God bless you for watching, and check out this video for more inspiration on how to plan yourself for your job search.